Hello and welcome to Daily Politics Live on Trust TV, your go-to platform for the latest political stories, debates and conversations, as well as analysis on both national and international developments. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed, and tonight on the program we've got some very interesting developments to unpack for you. Plus, we have the usual added package where you get to be a part of the conversation, so we can weigh your thoughts, your views and your contributions on some of the day's topical issues. First up, we start in Kaduna State, where the Labour Party has rejected the hefty 2 million naira levy imposed by the Kaduna State Independent Electoral Commission for the chairmanship candidates in the upcoming local council elections. Councillorship candidates are also facing a steep fee of 500,000 naira. During a press conference on Friday, the Labour Party chairman in Kaduna State, Awal Tafoki, expressed the party's position on those charges.
Because initially they said we are going to pay 200,000 for the chairmanship, then 50,000 for the councillorship. Suddenly she changed, the chairperson changed from 50,000 to 2 million, from 50,000 to 500,000 for councillorship. We feel they want to discourage other parties from participating in the forthcoming local government election. So that we are not going to agree, we are not going to take it lightly.
And in other political news, Vice President Kashim Shettima has commended President Bola Tinubu, calling him a modest leader focused on the transformation of Nigeria's fortunes. Speaking in Abuja on Thursday at a book launch, the Vice President highlighted Tinubu's commitment to prioritizing progress over extravagance.
The first time I went to his house at Bodilon, the Lord of the Bodilon, I was looking forward to see a mansion comparable to a Buckingham Palace, with gardens, with swimming pools, with lifts, and it was an anticlimax. When I went to the house on the Bodilon, where the Lord of the Bodilon holds court, I saw a derelict colonial structure struggling to wear the looks of modernity. There was nothing special about that house. My house in Maiduguri is better than the house on the Bodilon. It's not about apportioning blame, but it's about finding solutions to our nation's needs. We knew there are challenges. The president had the courage, the political courage, and the willpower to take far-reaching decisions. And it always comes at a price. It's a parturition process. When a woman is about to give birth, it's a very painful process. But after the child has come forth, it's cause for celebration. I believe that posterity will be very kind to this poor man. He has taken far-reaching decisions. And the economy, we have crossed the Rubicon. The economy is now on a path to sustain growth.
Vice President Kashim Shettima there speaking about his boss, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And finally, on our news roundup, fuel shortages continue to frustrate motorists across the nation, with concerns rising over fluctuating pump prices. Some sources have spoken to Daily Trust, saying that filling stations are holding back on sales in anticipation of a price hike following the anticipated distribution of petroleum products from the Dangote refinery. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority is cracking down on the illegal sale of petroleum products, particularly premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, in jerry cans.
So please take this very serious. So this is a forewarning that from tomorrow, if we see peddlers around, we will not ask any question. Oh, we will draw your license.
Representative of the NMDPRA there speaking to one of the operators of a filling station, giving them that notice of action from the regulatory authority with regards to illegal sale of the product across the country. But let's bring in our analyst, the national chairman of the Action Democratic Party, ADP, and is presidential candidate in the 2019 elections, who is also an expert in the oil and gas sector, having worked at the NNPC. Engineer Yabagi Sani is joining us for the conversations on daily politics this evening. Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us on the program.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Good evening, viewers.
Let's start with some of the news updates, shall we? And we begin in Kaduna State. You were nodding your head as, you know, the chairman of the Labour Party there was given their position with regards to the Kaduna State Independent Electoral Commission pegging a particular fee where all political parties have to pay the sum of 2 million naira for the chairmanship position and 200,000 naira for the councillorship position. And as the Labour Party chairman was speaking there, he said this is an attempt to undermine the participation of opposition parties in Kaduna State. As a former national chairman or president of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, what is your take on this particular development?
Well, to say the least, it's undemocratic, it's inhuman, it portrays people as those that are trying to turn the hand of the clock backward in terms of the progress we have made in the entrenchment of democracy in this country. But I don't blame the states, really, if you look at it critically. I think the blame should be placed on the doorsteps of Mr. President, Ahmed tinubu. And I have my reasons why I'm saying he should be blamed for what is happening. Because there's no politician in this country that does not know that the conduct of elections at that tier of government is an organized crime, sort of. Because there's hardly a state that will conduct local government election without declaring everybody, the winners, from their own political party.
Kaduna State was an exception the last time around because some opposition parties won.
Yeah, exception, but what is playing out now is what is happening in other states. The point I'm making is this: when the government, federal government, took the matter to Supreme Court, given local governments, yes, the independence as far as their money is concerned, that the money should now be given to them directly. We all applaud, everybody was happy that democracy will now be allowed to really be felt at that level, which is the closest tier to the people. But then we know that it's not a matter of just getting the money to that tier, but how you conduct the elections for the leadership in that tier. And I wonder why the federal government or the president did not go the whole hog by saying that asking the Supreme Court to declare that it is illegal from today for the governors to hold the money belonging to local government and also to conduct elections, to that tier of the government.
I mean, surely that is something beyond the purview of the Supreme Court to do, especially when that is not the case before them. The case before the Supreme Court was financial autonomy and
financial autonomy,
political administration.
Financial autonomy is today, like you see what will happen. What will happen is that everybody that will win the elections more than before will now be people from the party in power in that state. So which means it's of no consequence really, because those that are going to control that money will be controlled by the governors still. Nothing has changed. In fact, it would have changed, even if you leave the money and you allow election to be conducted in a manner that will allow everybody to really have a free, fair, credible election at that tier. Because when somebody is elected, and by the people, he will be answerable to the people.
Right. We also understand that the chairman of the Kano State Independent Electoral Commission, Professor Sani Malumfashi, has announced the nomination fees for the upcoming local council election. This is just news coming in at this moment.
10 million.
And for the local council chairman, they are going to need to pay 10 million now, while those running for the councillorship will pay 5 million now. Is this an indirect way of not just making our elections expensive, but also undermine the electoral process?
undemocratic, you know, to make it, you know, to ensure that people are not allowed to exercise their franchise, you know, by making, who do you think from any other party can really, you know, bring out 5 million naira, a councillor?
Right.
So what are you telling us? That it's now a matter of cash and carry?
Right.
That it's no longer, you know, a democracy that will give you freedom as a citizen of the country to participate, you know,
do you believe money,
in the exercise?
Do you believe money corrupts the process itself?
Of course it does. Once you make something to become mercantile, you know, then you've removed the issue of credibility, you know, decorum,
right,
and all the things that you require in the representation of the people, because it means that even a drug pusher can come, or somebody that has never been to that place before, maybe he was born perhaps from that, but all he needed was to go and get money anyhow. Nobody cares how
that's
you get the money.
That's the biggest qualification.
Yes,
right.
And then that's your qualification to become the chairman or the councillor in Kano. It's a shameful thing that a party like NNPP will come up with this kind of horrible, embarrassing, you know, fees to be charged on people. And these are the parties that we're expecting to show good example of how, you know, democracy should be played.
Right,
so
okay.
so I'm disappointed, really.
Okay, let's make progress. Talk about the vice president. He had quite a lot to say about his principal, his boss, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, about being a modest man, but he did go beyond that to say that in his view, President Tinubu has been the most demonized person in the country with a good soul, and he had a lot more to say about his modesty, about his modest mansion, about him owning just one watch. What do you think about the vice president's comment there about trying to make the president look ordinary?
I think it's irrelevant to the issues that the country is contending with. It's irrelevant, far from what we are dealing with. You know, nobody is questioning the watch, the kind of watch that the president wears, or the kind of house he sleeps in, and what I want my president to look good. You know, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. So I don't want my president to look wretched. You know, not somebody, a person of President Ahmed Tinubu. You know, so this is irrelevant to the issue. You know, the issue of governance, the issue that is facing the nation today, of hunger, of banditry, of you know, restiveness, of instability, and then, you know, all sort of things that we are dealing with. And then you come up with, say, the president is this and that. That's irrelevant, you know, issue. You know, and it's diversionary, and it shouldn't be allowed to even go beyond, you know, where it was aired. You know, and I think that's something that, you know.
Do you think it insults the sensitivities of the people?
Yeah, that's why I say it's irrelevant. You know, it has no meaning. It doesn't carry any weight. You know, I don't know if he wants to make his Oga happy. There are better ways to do it, because even Tinubu will laugh at him. You know, why did you bring my house to the open? What has that got to do? You know, nobody is questioning the lifestyle of Mr. President. I never had that anywhere, you know, in Nigeria or any other place. So, what is it? You know, why not talk about some serious things, like fuel scarcity we are having, like the horrendous corruption going on in the NNPC, and like the fact that Mr. President himself is the Minister of Petroleum Resources, which is abysmal. I mean, in the sense that it is not giving Mr. President the kind of image he wants to give him, because they have made Mr. President to become somebody that is shielding, you know, people that are stealing our money, so that nobody can question them. You know, so that doesn't make Mr. President look good. It doesn't look good, you know, the way Mr. President is today. Yeah.
Let's segue into that, because we just showed that clip of the NMDPRA officials visiting Total Energies, one of their filling stations, talking about how they're going to bring down the hammer on filling stations who are selling to you know, what we have come to understand are black market operators, those young boys carrying jerry cans across the filling stations and all of that, talking about withdrawing their licenses. It looks like the more we look into the mess in the oil sector, for instance, the less we actually understand what is currently going on with all the developments around the Dangote refinery, whether it's a positive, whether it's likely going to be a solution. As someone who understands this sector very well, what can you tell us about why people are still paying more for PMS and even having to deal with scarcity at this moment?
Because there's an industry capture in the oil and gas sector. That sector has been captured by few Nigerians that were supposed to work for the benefits of this country, in person of the GMDs or whatever you have there, executive directors and managers and whatever. They have captured that industry for themselves. And that's why I said, Mr. President going there to become the minister of that place is completely at variance with what is expected in that, because you needed somebody that, like the National Assembly, should have been able to call the Minister of Petroleum Resources, to come and answer questions.
I mean, they did that a couple of weeks ago with regards
who?
to the Minister of
But I'm
State.
talking about hearing from the horse's mouth, I mean, because a minister, not a minister of state, because a minister of state, means that he has a boss, supervising that ministry, that is not answerable, for all the things happening for that ministry. That's what it means, isn't it? It's a junior minister. That's what it means. So you need a minister that can be engaged by the National Assembly, so that, and that's an important sector of the economy, that Mr. President should be relieved of that responsibility, so that he can now lead and he himself can question wherever he puts there, and he can reward and punish. So today, not National Assembly can punish anybody from that sector, or they can't reward anybody. All they can do is what they did. Meaning, just back and forth, asking questions that you have had so many times that no answer is coming, and then they become so arrogant. If you listen to what the NNPC chieftains who are there saying, they are just arrogant. We are not thieves. We are not this. Who are you then? When we are losing billions under your management, and you say are not thieves, then we're stealing the money. Mr. President himself said that corporation, is being looted. That's why he says he's removing the subsidy. So who was looting it?
Right.
So the issue is that the issue we're having, there are fundamental issues. We have a structural issue in that sector. We have a managerial issue in that sector. We have issue of discipline in that sector. We have issue of crude oil theft, which has been perpetuated by NNPC people in collaboration with some other people that you may not know them, but we know who is in charge. So who is in charge should be asked questions to answer. Right. If we are losing by 90 exercise year in year out, we are losing billions of dollars, every year, and somebody is sitting, tight, pretty in his office. Nobody questions him. The 90 will come up with gaps, and observations in all these things, and there'll be no remediation, and then the business just goes on like that. So enough is enough. I think that sector of the economy deserves better treatment under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And
I believe a lot of Nigerians will not in agreement to say that enough of the business as usual. Well, let's turn our attention now to the Nigerian economy, as Nigeria's food inflation saw a slight decrease in the month of July, according to new data released by the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, dropping to 33.40% from 34.19% in June. Now, this is the first decline in the headline inflation rate since December of last year, when it fell to 21.34%. Now, the latest figures comes from the National Bureau of Statistics Consumer Price Index report for the month of July this year. However, consumers may not yet feel the effect of this decrease, given the ongoing economic challenges across the country. Speaking on the challenges, Nigerians are increasingly concerned about the controversy surrounding the salaries, emoluments, allowances of Nigerian lawmakers. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo recently criticized federal lawmakers for allegedly setting their own pay, calling the practice immoral. Adding to the debate, Senator Kawo Samaila from Kano State claimed he receives 21 million naira monthly in salary and allowances. However, this claim has been swiftly refuted by the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, which clarified that each of the 109 senators receives a monthly salary of 1.063 million naira. The Senate spokesperson Yemi Adarmodu also dismissed Senator Kausamaila's claim as inaccurate. This ongoing debate continues to raise questions about transparency and accountability within the National Assembly. Talk about one arm of government that continues to give Nigerians reasons to believe that it is not serving their interests. The National Assembly has been at the receiving end of much of the criticism that this current administration has been facing. What are your 2 cents about what has been unfolding? I mean, this is beginning to sound like a broken record right now. Whenever we talk about their salaries, their allowances, it's been an issue that has been belabored, to say the least. But what are your thoughts about some of the new findings? I mean, it's not just from the outsiders criticizing their perceived salaries and allowances. It's an insider who is saying, listen, this is what I actually receive on a monthly basis, 21 million naira, which is significantly up from what we understand was the monies that were allocated to some of the senators in the 9th Senate. Your 2 cents on the claims and the counterclaims.
Well, I think, it's not Kausamila. He's not the first person to say this. Sheikh Sani also came out to say
Sheikh Sani was talking about his time in the Senate, which was somewhere around less than 21 million.
Yeah, that's right. And then there was also another House of Representative member from Kogi who also came out to say that this is what I received. So how could these people come out to tell lies, about themselves, that this is what I'm receiving? And then, without any show of responsibility, the institution will now come out and say they are telling lies. So you see, what does that tell you? It tells you that democracy itself is being taken for granted, in our climate. People that are supposed to protect and advance the cause of democracy are the ones who are doing the most horrible things that will take democracy out of the fancy of the people of this country, because they now say, okay, if you come and all that you are here for is to steal our commonwealth and then also lie to us that is not true.
Is that stealing though?
It's stealing.
I don't think so. I mean,
I believe it's stealing because Revenue Mobilization question says that they never approve anything like that for any one of them.
Yeah, I mean, the chairman or the head of the commission came out and talked about, well, there are 2 things actually. We're talking about salaries and then allowances. On the salary front, it's just something a little above 1 million naira, plus 68,000 naira or so.
Yes.
But if you deduct everything according to the senators, even according to the breakdown from the revenue mobilization, they get somewhere between 600,000 to 700,000 naira a month. However, on the question of allowances, that is where the bone of contention is about how much they actually get as running costs or operational costs, as the spokesperson of the Nigerian Senate is talking about. So if they do come to an agreement that this is what is going to cost to run their operations, is that stealing?
It is stealing.
How so?
It's stealing because you are elected to go and represent the people. You are not elected to go and take their money without their consent, because what it means is that any agency of the government can just fix whatever they like for themselves, and then nobody will query them. As a senator or as National Assembly member, you are expected to show good example. You are supposed to show that you are accountable, that you respect those who sent you there, and you will always ask for their consent before you do things. You will be lawful. Now, what should have happened is that amount of money that they fix for themselves should either be sent to Revenue Education Commission for them to now, give it the legal backing as intended by the Constitution, But now you take things into your own hand and then do whatever you like.
You do know that they also have their own budget for the year, just like any other government or agency.
Yes.
So is it not possible that explains everything? That we might not necessarily, it might not necessarily be moral, especially given the current situation of things, but it is not illegal. It is not criminal in any way, shape or form.
No, well, it's not criminal because people that would have, make it to look criminal or would have asked for the right thing to be done are the people that are also, indulging in the wrong, the wrong actions that we're talking about. So this is the problem, is that you would have expected that, like I said, should be the model. Senators should be a model for how a public servant, should conduct, himself, how you should use public funds. They are supposed to be the model, not the other way around, like what we are seeing now. So, and it doesn't make them look good at all that they have to come and then always trying to say that, oh, that senator that says this, was lying. That is not true. So
some of them say, especially when they counter the argument around the significance, or if you factor in the scale of the problem, that it is it is less than 0.1% of the national budget. So this storm in a teacup is unnecessary, because even if you don't pay them this much, it's not going to make any significant difference if you redirect the funds to something else, because their salaries accounts for around 1.2 billion in a year. The entire Nigerian Senate.
Yeah. And
is that significant in the grand scheme of things, if you consider?
It's the idea behind the whole thing. It's not the amount. If you by whatever means divert 1 naira that does not belong to you.
But this is not diversion, Engineer Yabagi. It's what is duly allocated to them. We can debate whether in this climate it is acceptable or not, but there's nothing illegal happening here.
I said they're supposed to be the model that people are supposed to look up to, isn't it? Meaning that when Nigerians are suffering, and that there's anger on the land because people are angry, you do not at that point in time indulge in all these frivolous things that really will give people the impression that you don't feel the pains that they are going through. So this is the point I'm making. They are elected to be good example of.
So you expect them to cut down on their own earnings?
Certainly. Everybody talks about it, that the cost of governance is too high. It's too high because it doesn't measure, or it does not really compare with what this economy can shoulder. You say it's 0.1% or something like that. That is not the idea. The idea is that why are we having children out of school increasing by the day? Why are we having more and more people dying, from hunger? Why are we having insecurity, as the order of the day in most parts of this country? So you ask yourself the question, it's because the economy is not yielding, it's not delivering for the people. Who should make it to deliver for the people? It's you. And in most cases, a leader, it is not just by what you say, it's what you do that matters. So what we are saying is that they should show good example. They should show Nigerians that they have empathy, that they feel what Nigerians are feeling, that this is not the time for luxury, for us to do extravagant life and live extravagant life or something like that. Okay. So that's the point we are making. That's why I'm saying they are abusing the privileges that they have been given. And when you abuse privilege, it's like stealing, because nobody expects you or nobody gives it to you, to take it. The people that should have given it to them, like you said, fixing their salaries and emolument, is the commission, RAMFAC. So the point we are making still is that it's not whether it's 1%, 10%, or 0.1% of the budget or of the GDP or whatever you want to call it, but are you supposed to take this money at this point in time? Isn't there a way we can do it so that
they should at least virtue signal to show Nigerians that when they're asking Nigerians they need to sacrifice, they should also show example that they're also making sacrifices.
Certainly.
Okay. Let's talk about the current economic situation. The Bureau of Statistics has given us some good numbers from last month, the month of July, showing that there's a slight dip in inflation. Much of that has also been connected with the current farming season, with new crops, with new harvests coming into the markets and things like that. But what are your thoughts about, what the data says and the reality that Nigerians have to deal with on a day-to-day basis?
Well, the issue of inflation in Nigeria is not only on the monetary aspect, the monetary policies or things like that. It's more on the fiscal policies. It's more on the structural issues that we have, the deficiency that we have in the economy. Yes, is the season, farming season. That's why you are experiencing the
drop in the prices
but it's like a drop in the ocean. When you are talking about, I was reading, America was talking about 3%, inflation or something like that. Britain was taking that the inflation it has dropped to below 2% or something like that, and we are talking about 40% inflation. Can you imagine that? Which means every penny or every naira you earn, 40% of it has already been taken away from you. So the fact of the matter is that government should sit up and ensure that Nigerians live a good life.
Does the current trajectory inspire confidence in you or renew your hope that things are going to get better? Are we heading in the right direction from what you're deducing from the economic reforms? Well, we'll be heading in the right direction if we do the right things, and the right things will be we punish when somebody has done something wrong, And you see this economy, Nigerian economy, there's no way the Nigerian economy can perform, optimally if we do not really take attention, give focus, attention to the most important sector of the economy, where all the other economies, draw their power and then the strength, of the economy. That's why some of us are so passionate and we are so critical about what the president does or does not do. For instance, where are we where we are today? You talk about the inflation that is now perhaps dropping, no matter how little it may be. It is because one, naira, which is the most which is the biggest factor that influences the inflation in this country, it still has not really moved the needle yet. In foreign exchange, I'm talking about. It's not so much the farming season or something like that, but it's because we are a consuming country, isn't it? We consume almost everything that we are using, and because we need dollars to import those necessary things that we need, like machinery, like raw materials, like essential things like medicine and what have you. You need to import most of them, and you need dollars, isn't it? Now, the sector that we are giving you dollars is being run arbitrarily, under your own direct supervision. So you think the oil sector has become the central nervous system of the Nigerian economy? It
is, because there's no way you can look at the Nigerian economy without looking at what is happening in the oil sector.
Right. Okay.
So this is why the inflation will continue to grow if we do not find a way by which you can grow revenue that will be able to strengthen our naira, meaning that you are able to earn more dollars.
Yeah. Okay. Let's open up the conversation to our viewers in case you have something to say. Feel free to be a part of the conversation. We would love to hear your thoughts, your views, and your suggestions, or even recommendation with regards to the conversation. Remember, there are two things in play here as far as our conversation is concerned. There is the conversation around the emolument of lawmakers in the National Assembly and how that has sparked yet another conversation across the country. What are your 2 cents about that? Plus, in talking about the new inflation figures, have you witnessed any sort of decline in the pricing, a reduction in the price of commodities that you're buying in the markets and the shops? Feel free to share your thoughts with us. The number is showing on your TV screen. Remember, rules of engagement. Please turn down the volume of your TV set when you call in and get straight to the point after stating your name and your location. Engineer Yabagi, let's talk about whether there are some people who are of the school of thought that Nigeria's economy is becoming too liberal for the good of Nigerians, that we need to maintain this principle of it being a social democracy that also caters to the well-being, to the welfare of the people, regardless of, what we're trying to achieve with the economic direction of free market systems and things like that. Do you think the Tinubu administration is balancing its act when it comes to, some of its, economic reforms, for instance?
No. Like we all know, governments, themselves, they know that they started on the wrong footing, isn't it? And that's why we've been trying by all means to see how you can bring it, the human face that you're talking about,
right,
the dampers that you're talking about that's supposed to be introduced in order to cushion the effect of free market economy.
Okay, just a moment, just a moment there, Engineer, but pardon the interruption. We have Saliu from Katsina joining the conversation. Good evening, Saliu. Thank you so much for joining us on Daily Politics. Go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, good evening. To your best.
Go ahead, Saliu.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
In regard to the topic of discussion tonight, I think the first issue is about the allowances of the National Assembly.
Yeah.
I think I've been saying it before now. One of our major problems, one of our major problems is the National Assembly. The truth is that the government, or the armed government that we have, they are not being sincere with Nigerians. They are not being true to themselves, or they will be true to Nigerians in first place. Because this first allegation of this allowance of 18 was fed on Senator Sani from Kaduna, who was once a member of that place. So whatever he's saying is seen from the knowledge of what he has gone through in that parliament. Then we now have one of the senators also making involved. The other agency now coming out, that is the one in charge of the allowance or whatever, and coming and telling us that each of the senators on National Assembly could be their monthly allowance is 1 million, 1 point something million, 1.2 million. We can do that be done. It's not possible. If you have any of those National Assembly collecting such kind of allowance to that National Assembly, no, that is just. On the issue of the inflation of 18, as far as we are concerned, the inflation of figures that are giving us that has come down for the first in reality. I'm not seeing it. I just want to see. So,
I think we're going to have to let you go, Saliu, but I think we got the gist. If you have more to say, feel free to call back. Saliu calling in from Katsina. I think we got the point he was making about the National Assembly, but unfortunately we couldn't finish hearing his thoughts with regards to the inflation figures. But I think if I got the gist there, he's trying to say that not much has changed anyway, as much as the data is showing some positive movement in the right direction. It's safe to say that in a country where we just struggle to reach 70,000 naira minimum wage, it doesn't make sense that our senators are earning 10 times that amount on a monthly basis. And basically he's saying the National Assembly has been at the heart of the problem in this country. Why do you think people continuously feel this way about their lawmakers?
No, they feel this way because they are supposed to represent their interests. They are supposed to protect, ensure that welfare, security is delivered. That's why they are there. They are supposed to be the watchdogs. They are supposed to oversight whatever the executive is doing. But that is not the case here. So what you find here is that you hardly find the difference between the executive and the National Assembly.
Okay.
In terms of the lifestyle and the way they behave, and they are always in bed with the executive. Okay,
very interesting about revenue mobilization. The president appoints them, and then the Senate confirms them. So that says a lot about those connections. Let's speak to Bakari from Jalingo in Taraba State now. Bakari, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Hello, Bakari.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Bakari. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Good evening, Engineer. Good evening, Uncle.
Good evening. Go ahead. Okay. I think there's a bit of a lag.
I'm interested in the discussion. Very fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Unfortunately.
Are you with me?
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you now. I can hear you now. Please go ahead, Bakari. We can hear you now.
What I can just chip in is that Senator Carl Smaller
I think we're going to have to let you go. And also, just to explain, right? If you call in, turn down the volume of your TV set, because that delay doesn't allow for a smooth conversation, and we of course are wanting for time, so we cannot afford to wait for that lag in the communication. So turn down the volume of your TV set. Let's have a direct conversation, and be as articulate and brief with your thoughts, so that we can allow for a lot of other contributors to make their own points with regards to the conversation. The number is still showing on your TV screens. We'd love to hear more of your thoughts, your views about the issues of the day. We're talking about the emoluments of members of the Nigerian Senate, particularly that has been in the news over the past couple of weeks. More revelations have been coming out since some of those remarks made by Nigeria's former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, who indicted some of the lawmakers for their inability to align themselves with the current situation in the country, where millions of Nigerians are down and under because of the current economic trajectory. Let's hear more of those thoughts by you calling in on the program. The number is shown on your TV screens, just so we could go back to your thoughts there about political representation and this apparent growing disconnection between the leaders and the followers.
Yes, and again, you talked about the need for government to introduce some cushioning, things to cushion effects. So, yeah. Exactly. So that is the whole idea behind subsidies, because you are operating a capitalist system, which is free market, and then capitalist system says according to your ability, and then you have discovered that if you said your people should go and buy, for instance, petrol at the market price, that not many of them earn enough to be able to run their activities, also commercial and private. So because of that, and because you want the economy to grow, you now introduce what you call subsidy. So subsidies are not something that is freely, given. It's something that is given in order to ensure that you have the balance in the economic activities of the country. That's why you give citizens, the subsidy. We subsidize our naira also, isn't it? That was the regime we had before. It was subsidizing naira, so that you will be able to cater for like a real sector of the economy, like some necessary things that you're supposed to bring in without overheating the economy itself. Okay. For instance, today.
Just a moment, Engineer. Let's speak to our next caller, who is calling in from Cross River. Good evening and welcome to Daily Politics. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to
this is Mohammed on the line.
Come again, your name?
Thank you. Mohammed.
Mohammed, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Cross River.
Mohammed from Cross River. How's Cross River this evening?
Yeah, cool and calm.
Good, go ahead.
Actually, I just want to chip in something on the discussions you people are having.
Go ahead, Mohammed.
All right. On the cost of governance, actually, there's this whole thing of the House, the legislators want people to make sacrifices. And I see no reason why you having, governing the country, want people to make sacrifices that you are not willing to make. In terms of the cost of governance, let's take their salary, their take-home monthly. For example, I don't know if I will be up to speed on this issue of minimum wage. It took us how many months to actually come to conclusion of the minimum wage? While the minimum wage, that's a direct contact to a common man. But them implementing what is theirs, it doesn't take time like that, and which they take home a lot of things. In terms of this allocation to local government, constituents of a thing, most of them don't even go to their constituency. They don't know what their people are facing. Actually, what happened a couple of weeks back for these protests, a lot of people want to partake in the protest, but we know, some of us know that definitely that protest will be hijacked. Like we are concerned of the well-being of the people. If you can afford 3 square mil or 2 square mil, some other people cannot afford even 1 square mil. but people we look up to, that we elected to go to those offices, do something that people will benefit. The idea of just feeding themselves.
Yeah.
At least let's just put the country at heart. I know this whole thing of patriotism, we don't have it in Nigeria, seriously. Right from the grassroots.
Yeah. Okay. Mohammed, just before we let you go, we're talking about the Bureau of Statistics new data. It shows that the price of commodities, especially food items, is slowly coming down. What can you tell us about the prices in Cross River? Are they coming down?
Well, actually, in Cross River, we actually can say yes or no to that, because sometimes you go to the market, you buy things, and the next 1 hour you come back, the whole thing has increased. I know because it's a consuming state actually, so most of the things they brought down here, so the cost of transportation and all that, everybody wants to take something out of it. So for here, I think we had that some things are dropping, but actually here, I doubt.
Okay. Mohammed, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate you for your contribution on the program tonight. I'm afraid Mohammed is going to be our last contributor for this particular segment as we wrap things up. So your final thoughts on what happens next. With this particular debate, it looks like Senator Kausamala might be the next senator that is likely going to face some kind of disciplinary action or whatever it is, because any senator that steps out of line sort of like gets punished for it by the Nigerian Senate. They're currently on recess right now, but do you expect there to be some kind of movement that would virtue signal to Nigerians that they are listening to the frustrations of Nigerians and they understand the need to be on the same page with the people they've been elected to represent?
Well, I'm sure the National Assembly is not unaware of the feelings of Nigerians, especially coming from these protests that we have had. The protest was nothing but a vote of no confidence on the government, that the government is not listening to them, the government does not feel their pains, the government is on its own, leaving them to the vagaries of the situation that has been created by the government themselves, like you have poverty, you have banditry, you have all these things happening. So for them to now come out and say they are going to punish somebody who came out to save them, because it's to save them, believe you me, because Nigerians want their representatives to be honest with them. So I don't think, I'm not expecting them to
punish anybody.
No.
Okay. We're going to have to leave it here for now, Engineer Yabagi Sani. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. We really appreciate your insight and analysis of the day's issues. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And as always, thank you so much for joining us on Daily Politics. We'll be back with more next week, so hopefully you'll be a part of our next edition of the program. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. From myself and the rest of the team, thank you for joining us on Daily Politics. We'll see you next time.